Hello. This situation is much worse than I thought. I got a real shock when I read the dossier that Coutts had compiled about Nigel Farage. And, well, we all know that people involved in politics and the media, they tend to get a little, how should I say, hyperbolic. But in this situation, Farage was, if anything, just playing it down when he said that it looked like the sort of dossier you'd be giving a barrister when compiling a brief for a murder trial. And it didn't strike me. Okay, first of all, I'll tell you, I am Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter and Gab, where I let you know when I'm uploaded a new video. Please like this video, please share it, please subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, just check you still are subscribed. All the links are in the description, and there's also links to donation sites if you want to use any of them. But the best way you can really help this channel is clicking that like button and by sharing and by subscribing, as I said. Right, let's get back to the story. So Farage spoke about the dossier that Coutts had compiled on him. And as I said, when he said it was like the sort of thing that you'd have a barrister look up for a murder trial, I did not take that entirely seriously. In fact, I didn't take it seriously at all. But I decided to do some, well, at least one video on the Farage thing. And then I realised this was all much, much worse than I'd imagined. And the passing comment that members of his family had also been affected, it seems that many of his friends had been affected as well. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about a bit of towering hypocrisy from an ex-BBC reporter. Now, first of all, the reporter is called John Sopel, and he's an experienced BBC reporter who left the BBC not because they chucked him out, but because he went on to greener fields. So obviously he's respected for being an analyst and knowing his stuff and all the rest of it. And yet it did not occur to him when this whole thing was blasted open by Farage, that Farage would not have said anything if his financial status were not on a thoroughly stable footing. Now, that's what I said in the first video I made when the story started to come out. My first impression was that Farage would not have said anything if there was any chance that his finances would be called into question. He's got far too much political nous, financial nous as well, to expose himself in such a way. So I realised that whatever Coutts had said, it could not be right. I realised that, and I don't know anything about banking. I mean, we had a mortgage. That's about as far as our financial empire extends. I don't know how these guys carried on, but looking at the Coutts report on Farage, I'm not impressed. And although we know this about Coutts, I'm quite sure it's not the only bank. After all, they are now a subsidiary of NatWest, aren't they? And NatWest and Coutts are sort of up the chain of command, organised by the same people. Anyway, so what happened was Sopel mocked Nigel Farage over Coutts closing his account. He used to cover North America for the corporation and said earlier this month when the story broke, Mr. Farage must feel like a bit of a Charlie after the BBC reported his account was closed for financial rather than political reasons. And as I said, this is a fellow who should know about these things. should know that somebody who's survived as long as Farage has in the sort of toxic environment that he has been existing for years now, that somebody like Sopel should have realised that there was something funny going on. But he didn't. So eaten up by hate and spite and his own political biases, he couldn't even see the obvious in front of his face. After the Telegraph revealed Coutts gave differing values as a reason for the account closures, Mr. Sopel wrote, "Dear Nigel, oh, aren't we best friends?" Here, this is the tweet. Well, hang on. I'll tell you what the tweet said from the article, because there's something else I want to talk about with that tweet. "Dear Nigel, I always believed when I get things wrong, I own up to it. I got it wrong. Sorry. That will teach me to trust reporting of my old employer. If your political views were even part of the reason why account was suspended from Coutts, that is totally reprehensible." And this is an absolute gold mine of hypocrisy. Let's start with this. The first inkling of this, the first episode, is when Nigel Farage sends a tweet out after the different values stuff was, oh, I'm sorry, let me explain. If you haven't been keeping up with this, it turns out that Coutts had said that they didn't want to give a bank account to Nigel Farage because he had values which were not in alignment with theirs. That's a bank saying that. And God only knows how many people they give banking facilities to who are the most dishonest, vile, dictatorial fraudsters on the planet. And Farage, whose life really is an open book, not because he wanted it to be, but because of where he is. His values don't align with theirs. The bank's values is money. That's it. Or that's what it should be. Anyway, so Nigel Farage tweeted this. "Hi John, who's the Charlie now? Looks like it's you for swallowing the Coutts PR spin. I look forward to your apology." The silence of the grave. Yeah, John Sopel doesn't get back to him. So Farage makes another tweet. "Anybody heard from John Sopel today? He's gone awfully quiet about this." And it was only then that Sopel came back with his tweet. Dear Nigel, my best friend, I always believe when I get things wrong, I own up to it. Oh yeah, I'm an honest person. I got it wrong. Yeah, well, you had to say that finally, didn't you? Because you could see that Farage was not going to let this one go past. Now, this is where the hypocrisy starts layering like a Subway sandwich. Sorry, that will teach me to trust reporting of my old employer. Okay, let's just pick that apart. That will teach me to trust reporting of my old employer. So 1, it wasn't me. It was their reporting. I'm not to blame. It's not that I couldn't have put two and two together myself, but no. I'm not to blame. I just listened to what the BBC said and I trusted them. So yeah, that's because I'm a trusting, honest man. Yeah. And the second thing, old employer. Oh yeah, but I have nothing to do with them anymore, do I? I am not part of that awful BBC anymore. So yeah, that not only makes me honest, but good. I don't know what that emoji is. If your political views were even part of the reason, so he couldn't even say the whole reason. He has to say he has to put that word part in there. Meaning maybe it was the money as well. That's how it comes across. Even part of the reason why account was suspended from Coutts, that is totally reprehensible. John. I'm surprised he didn't write your friend John on the bottom. And then Nigel Farage makes a response. And do you know what? And I don't know how he did it. I would not have been able to control myself in that situation. I can hardly control myself now. And I would have definitely descended to making at least the beginnings of a snide comment. But not Farage. What self-control. John, thank you so very much for those words. I fully accept the apology and wish you well. And then the next bit, without any snide comment, he just reminds John Sopel what he is supposed to do, because it's obvious he has forgotten, but he doesn't put it in that way when he writes it here. As broadcasters, we now have a duty to fight for free speech for our viewers and listeners. Farage is a better person than I am, that's for sure. He completely resisted the impulse to stab at this total hypocrite, which is what this total hypocrite really deserved. And it seems to me that Sopel gets far more in life that he doesn't deserve than Nigel Farage does. Anyway, yeah, that's my take on the Sopel tweet and the Farage tweet. And yeah, I'll be doing more about the dossier later. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.